Did you know that the aircraft once hailed as Boeing's ultimate triumph, the 777X, has now become its greatest embarrassment? The plane that was meant to dominate the skies, redefining long haul travel, and stamping Boeing's supremacy over Airbus, is now buried under delays, technical issues, and broken promises. What was supposed to be a symbol of unstoppable innovation has turned into a long running cautionary tale about overconfidence and corporate chaos. For years, Emirates Airlines, as the most influential player in global aviation, bet its entire expansion strategy on the 777X. They called it the 777X Superjet. The future of the fleet, the aircraft that would carry their empire through the next decade. But as time went on, the dream began to unravel. The program stalled. Engines failed tests. Certification became a nightmare. And Emirates' patience, once endless, ran out. Their legendary CEO, Sir Tim Clark, finally said enough. And in a move that shocked the entire aviation industry, he turned toward Airbus, the very company Boeing once swore he'd never rely on. But how did it all come to this? Why did Boeing's flagship collapse under its own promises? And what made Airbus suddenly the savior in this unfolding aviation drama? For years, the partnership between Boeing and Emirates was considered unbreakable. It was more than a business deal. It was a symbol of trust, ambition, and shared dominance in global aviation. Emirates placed one of the largest aircraft orders in history, banking on over 100 777Xs to define its future. Every detail, from flight schedules to luxury cabin designs, was built around this new jet. But as deadlines slipped and excuses piled up, the dream began to rot from within. Technical flaws surfaced, especially with the GE9X engines, which struggled under performance and durability standards. Certification hurdles became endless after the fallout of the 737 MAX crisis. Each delay cost Emirates millions and threatened its route plans. What once felt like a promise of progress turned into a haunting reminder of corporate overreach. And as years went by, the question shifted, Ice, from when will the 777X arrive first to will it ever fly at all? At the centre of this storm stood Sir Tim Clark, the man known for transforming Emirates into one of the most powerful airlines on Earth. Clark is not a man of empty patience. His leadership thrives on results and not excuses. So when Boeing's delivery timeline stretched from 1 year to nearly a decade, his frustration became public. He openly questioned Boeing's credibility, warning that Emirates couldn't wait forever. In the aftermath of the pandemic, when global travel demand exploded, Clark needed aircraft ready to fly, not theoretical models buried in paperwork. That's when he did the unthinkable. He reopened the door to Airbus, a company he had once dismissed entirely. The very aircraft he had previously rejected, the A350-1000, suddenly looked like the only path forward. It wasn't just about finding a new jet. It was about keeping Emirates alive in a rapidly shifting industry. When Clark's patience with Boeing finally snapped, Airbus saw an opportunity to strike. The A350-1000 was everything the 777X wasn't. Lighter, certified, and already flying passengers across continents. It offered flexibility instead of promises, efficiency instead of uncertainty. Though smaller in capacity, it could conquer thinner, long-haul routes that fit the new global demand perfectly. And in a world that prizes fuel savings and quick adaptability, the A350-1000's modern composite frame made it an economic weapon. Emirates didn't just see an airplane. They saw a safety net, a practical lifeline to bridge the years of waiting. Yet beneath this excitement, there was a hidden obstacle. A single weak link powerful enough to ruin everything, the engine. And that's where the next battle began. The heart of any aircraft is its engine, and for the A350-1000, that heart came from Rolls-Royce, the Trent XWB-97. On paper, it was a masterpiece, efficient, quiet, and designed for extreme performance. But Dubai's brutal heat and dust storms told a different story. In Emirates' real-world test, the engines began to fail long before expected, while the airline demanded at least 2,500 flight cycles between overhauls. Rolls-Royce's engines barely managed 600. The company's proposed solution, buying dozens of spare engines to rotate in and out, only fueled Clark's anger. For him, it wasn't a fix. It was a financial insult. An airline that runs non-stop can't afford inefficiency, and Clark knew that better than anyone. In 2014, he had cancelled the A350 entirely because of this flaw. But now, nearly a decade later, Airbus and Rolls-Royce were determined to prove him wrong. Years of quiet engineering revisions followed. Rolls-Royce reworked cooling systems, experimented with heat-resistant coatings, and tested the engines under simulated desert conditions. Slowly, the results began to shift. Early data showed major improvements, and suddenly, the A350-1000 wasn't just a theoretical option, it was a real contender. Tim Clark's tone changed from frustration to cautious optimism. He even hinted that Emirates could place a new order for up to 50 aircraft if the engines held up. For Airbus, that was the green light they'd been waiting for, but for Boeing, it was an alarm bell. The competitor they'd long dismissed as a secondary was now threatening to capture one of their most prestigious customers. And this time, Boeing couldn't hide behind promises, because Airbus was already flying. The aviation world now stood divided. On one side was Boeing's colossal 777X, a flying fortress capable of carrying over 400 passengers. On the other was the A350-1000, leaner, lighter, and more efficient. The contrast was dramatic. Brute power versus aerodynamic precision. The 777X was designed for the busiest routes on Earth. But post-pandemic travel patterns no longer favoured megajets. Passengers and airlines wanted flexibility, not excess. The A350-1000, with its longer range and lower fuel burn, fit the new reality perfectly. It could reach secondary cities and emerging markets without the risk of flying half-empty. And while Boeing's aircraft remained grounded by certification hurdles, Airbus's planes were already making money in the sky. In today's aviation economy, that's the only metric that matters. To outsiders, Tim Clark might seem like just another executive, but within aviation circles, his voice carries the weight of an entire industry. When he praises a jet, the world listens. When he criticizes one, stocks move. His calculated remarks about the A350 weren't just idle talk, they were tactical maneuvers. By publicly entertaining Airbus while demanding better performance, Clark forced both Boeing and Rolls-Royce into action. His goal was never just to switch suppliers, it was to drive innovation and accountability. Clark understands that in today's volatile world, with rising fuel costs, political instability, and environmental pressures, flexibility is survival, and whichever manufacturer can prove reliability under those conditions will win the future. For Boeing, Emirates' wavering loyalty was nothing short of a crisis. The airline had long been its crown jewel, the customer that gave credibility to every new project. Now, that trust was broken. Other airlines watched closely, questioning whether Boeing could deliver on time or at all. Investors grew nervous. Engineers faced mounting pressure. The 777X, once Boeing's flagship, became a symbol of what happens when ambition outpaces reality. And while Airbus quietly gained momentum, Boeing's reputation began to erode from within. If Emirates ultimately shifts toward Airbus, it won't just lose a sale. It'll lose an era because in aviation, reputation travels faster than any jet. The story of the Boeing 777X isn't just about one plane. It's a warning to the entire industry. Innovation means nothing without execution, and loyalty fades when trust breaks. Tim Clark's decision reshaped the global balance between two giants, proving that in modern aviation, agility beats size and reliability beats reputation. As we look toward the skies, one truth stands clear. It's not the biggest aircraft that defines the future, but the one that actually takes off. If you've enjoyed exploring this story and want to dive deeper into the untold rivalries shaping the world of aviation, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us keep uncovering the real stories behind the industry's biggest decisions. Don't forget to like this video, leave a comment sharing your thoughts on the Boeing versus Airbus battle, and subscribe so you never miss another deep dive into aviation's most fascinating dramas.